Hello, people. How's it going? Hopefully, the noise outside of someone revving their car engine will not be a problem. Oh, I know who it is, believe me. Anyway, subject with this history. This is the third major subject I deal with. I'm doing 3 videos today, which hasn't been happened before, so that's a good sign. What is history? What is historical movie? When is it not? And are they worth watching? Depends on the movie, of course. There are 2 types of historical movies. Okay, there's the one where it is about a historical event like Gettysburg and Zulu Dawn and Lincoln and Gandhi and Longest Day. Then there are films that are basically the backdrop is a historical setting. I would consider, and I know people are not going to like this, but I consider Gone with the Wind not only a long, dull movie, but very little to do with the American Civil War. It's a love story, people. I find it boring. I've seen it once, and it was dull. It was boring. I didn't care. But it's a historical movie only in the sense that the background and when it takes place is the American Civil War. To me, it's not a Civil War movie per se. It's a story where the American Civil War takes place on the periphery. Whereas movies like Gettysburg and Glory and Andersonville, and I know I'm missing one. Anyway, but Gettysburg is about a historical event in the Civil War. A very good movie. Historically, off and on here and there, for the most part, it's a good movie. It's an excellent movie. But it's historically it is very accurate. It's very good. But is it worth watching? Oh yeah, of course it is. But most history movies, or I should say most history movies that take place with a historical event in the background, like The Patriot. The Patriot is historically so wrong and so off that's not even funny. Now, it's a good movie if you just want an American Revolutionary War movie with some vague hints of actual persons, because the character that Mel Gibson is playing did exist, or at least he existed. He played an amalgamation of one person, the Gray Fox. I can't remember his name. I have a book on him. But the problem with The Patriot is that it's historically bad. It's not inaccurate in some areas, but it's just a story with the American Revolution as the background. It doesn't really. It's not a bad movie. If you just want a simple, basic American Civil War film, it's not too bad. It's like that movie. I think it was called what was it called? It was with Donald Sutherland. Was it called Independence? Anyway, I'll look it up. But it was an old movie. I think in the 80s it was made. It was with Donald Sutherland. Not Donald Pleasance. Donald Sutherland and it was the only way of it. It wasn't Drums Along the Mohawk, which is a very famous Henry Fonda film, which is pretty good. But the historical movie has got to, the historical movie is about a historical event. It's got to stick to the history. It's got to demonstrate that the people behind it bothered to read books about these historical people, this historical event, these historical moments. I mean, Zulu Dawn is a good movie. Zulu is a good movie about the British against the Zulu Empire. There are historical inaccuracies, but for the most part, it's pretty good telling of that particular battle. I would recommend it. I recommend both movies. I would watch Zulu Dawn first, because that's actually Sandawanda, and then Zulu, and that's Warp's Drift. The Longest Day is a very good movie, but it's more of a character study of different people. And it's true, there are some historical figures that are mentioned, like, Theodore Roosevelt Jr., played by Henry Fonda. I mean, the guy that John Wayne plays was real. So there were a lot of characters that were real, that were actual historical figures, and they were played well. It's a good movie, but D-Day was a little more complicated than is portrayed in the film. Saving Private Ryan's opening scenes was how they couldn't have done that when they did The Longest Day. But the movie itself, Longest Day, is a good character study of the different aspects of those who were at Longest Day and D-Day. So it is a good movie in that regard. It's worth watching. Just remember that you're really sort of dealing with character studies of different aspects of people who fought D-Day. I mean, I think less than 50% of the people who were portrayed in the film did exist, but I think most didn't. I mean, it's a good movie. It's not like Anzio. Anzio is a terrible movie. It doesn't even come close to what the Battle of Anzio was like. It has Peter Falk in it, the early Peter Falk film. Robert Mitchum is in it. I believe it's Robert Mitchum. It's boring. It doesn't give you the harrowing, gut-wrenching terribleness of Anzio. Anzio was a bloodbath. It was a disaster. I mean, it was a slugfest. And I have 2 books on it. I'm not going to bother getting up and showing them. I guess I could, I suppose. I'll show one anyway. I read this one. I haven't read the other one yet. But I read this one. The Gamble That Failed. It is a good book. It's an excellent book. I mean, it's a very short book. Very excellent. Very good. Worth reading about the Battle of Anzio. About the Italian campaign of World War II that Patton missed. But the film itself is atrocious. It's not even historically. It's one of those films where Anzio and World War II is more of a backdrop than an actual part of the film. It really is. I mean, I've seen it once. It was a long time ago, and it was bad. It was boring and it was bad, which is unfortunate because Anzio should get a better film. Hell is for Heroes, if I remember correctly, because this just popped into my head, I believe takes place not in the Battle of the Bulge, but I'm having a blank. While the Battle of the Bulge was happening, while Operation Market Garden, between Market Garden and Battle of the Bulge, it was the Siegfried line. I think it was that one. Anyway, the movie itself is very good. It's not historically based only in the sense that it's World War II, but it's a character study of actual GIs trying to hold off a German advance. It's very good. I found the movie. I liked it. I liked this. It was Steve McQueen. I think James Colburn's in this film too. I'd have to look it up. I could look it up, I suppose. But it is a good movie. It's more of a character study film, though. It's World War II. That's obvious. But it's not a particular place, really. I don't think it's really ever mentioned. But it is apparent that it's somewhere in Europe, obviously. It's an excellent film about the whole of war. And it is very good. I liked it anyway. Of course, it has Steve McQueen in it, so I'm going to like it. Even The Great Escape, which is an excellent film, I think does take liberties with a lot of what actually happened. But it's still a very good movie. The Great Escape is a great movie. It's one on my top list of favorite films. Let's see. War is for Heroes. All right, people, you just have to deal with this. This is how I do it. War is for Heroes. No, it's not here. No. All right, why is it not on here? I have 2 different Leonard Maltin video books because one ends at a certain time and the other one doesn't. So This might be in the other one, but anyway, this is War for Heroes is a very good book. The Great Escape is a very good movie. It probably does take liberties, but doesn't take liberties with how they got out, how they were all killed, the repercussions, so on and so forth. It's a good book and a good movie. That is a very good historical film. The Bridge Too Far is remarkably a very historically accurate movie and very good. Doesn't get a lot of recognition, but A Bridge Too Far, Operation Market Garden. Monty's plan that failed miserably for a whole host of reasons. But it's a very good movie. A lot of great stars in it. It's an excellent film. It is a movie that should be watched and seen because it's historically pretty good. Glory is a good movie about the American Civil War in the 54th Massachusetts. The first African American Infantry Division or Regiment. Is it Regiment? I'll have to look it up. But anyway, very good movie. I mean, some of the bad ones, well, one of the more infamous ones probably would be The Guy with Their Boots On, which is about Custer's last stand, which is a romanticized view of Custer, because I believe they took the movie idea from his wife's autobiography of Custer. I mean, Little Big Man, which Dustin Hoffman also does the Little Bighorn Battle. It's a little more accurate, but it's more a satirical look at the battle, more satirical look at that moment. It's a good movie. It's better than They Died with Their Boots On. Dances with Wolves. Now, if you read the book, they're not Sioux, they're Comanche. Historically, the cavalry in that movie at the end should have been from Minnesota. My history teacher in Century College told me that, the problem with that film is two things. One, the cavalry should have been from Minnesota chasing the Sioux when they caught up with Kevin Costner's character. I'm not sure where they were in the movie, but they should have been from the Minnesota regiments, cavalry regiments. And the other is when the chief, I forget what his name is holding a Spanish helmet and talking about the Spanish. The Spanish never got that far. The Spanish never got that far. He never should have had that helmet. Another historical inaccuracy. It's a good movie, but it's historically... It's a romanticized historical film. I'm sorry. I'm one of those people who like to remind people that the Native Americans didn't all get along with each other. They didn't live happily with everybody. And it wasn't just Europeans fighting each other and enslaving each other. Native Americans did it too. Whether you like that idea or not, they did. But the movie's not bad. I mean, the movie is good. Just don't take it history. Just don't take it as historical in any context. I'm not even sure it was meant to be. It has a historical background through the Dakota. And when this would have taken place after the Dakota Uprising anyway. Because this would have, because supposedly the movie begins at the Battle of Antietam, I think. Antietam. And then it gets sent off to the west. And, but I believe, it was supposed to be the Minnesota Cavalry. So it would have been, sometime after the Dakota War of 1862. Good movie, historically not. No. The movie Cromwell, which is about Oliver Cromwell and King Charles I. Good acting by Richard Harris and is it Alec Guinness? I believe it's Alec Guinness. Historically very wrong. Historically very off. Though Alec Guinness plays Charles I pretty good, and so does Richard Harris. But historically, it's terrible. Historically, it's very wrong. It's not even romanticized. It's a movie. It's a historical movie only in name only. It's worth watching if you like the two actors. If you like the two actors, you'll like the movie. But when is it historical? When it's accurate. When a movie historical is accurate, when at least 75% of it is actual history. Now I know in films they like to change things here and there, which is fine. For story, and for just to keep the story moving, yes, things should change, some things could be switched, blah blah blah. but not when you literally change actual more important history moments. 75% of it needs to be historically accurate or more. If you, I mean, the longest, what's the longest day? What film am I thinking of? Trying to do this by memory. But, Battle of the Bulge. That's the other one. Battle of the Bulge is more of a film about character studies than the actual battle. Because the Battle of the Bulge actually lasted from the 16th of December to about, I think, January 20, somewhere in January 20th something. It lasted over a month. I mean, the Battle of the Bulge was stopped rather early, but to keep fighting the Germans back took a little bit over a month. But the film itself shouldn't be taken too seriously or too historically. It's good character study. It's excellent character study, I suppose, of the common GI. The massacre at Bastogne is portrayed, but it's not historically well done. The acting isn't too bad, and it could be better. Oh, and then there's Patton. Now, Patton is a great film. I'm not going to say anything bad about the movie, even though Patton didn't actually sound like George C. Scott, and everybody knows this. But the movie is great. Okay, it's historically pretty accurate for the most part. But as long as a film sticks to the 75% in my mind of trying to be historically accurate, I can live with a few deviations here and there. I can live with certain deviations from historical movies. But when they're blatant, or when they just don't care, or they literally create things that didn't happen, or characters that didn't happen, and they're blatant about it, and they just don't care, then I have a problem. I like historical movies. I love sitting there, and yes, I like to point out when it's wrong or right. That's why I like watching history movies. Anyway, already at 17 minutes, so I don't want to make this too long. I might come back to this subject in the next video, so this will be probably lecture number 2 for that, or 3. But history movies are fun. They are fun to watch. They are interesting to watch. Just don't be a historian while doing it, and it won't drive you crazy. I like certain movies, even if they are like the Battle of the Bulge, even though I think it's historically way off, and it falls way below that 75% accuracy rating, which probably is too low anyway. But it does have some good acting. It does have some good moments. It is fun to watch. Let's see. I'm trying to think real fast before I'm trying to stop this at 20. I don't want to make this too long. I've already made it almost 20 minutes. But so I'll probably stop it here, and then I'll come back to this subject again next video, talking about more historical films. Maybe I'll be a little more accurate on what I'm talking about. At least I want to get the movies and who's in them down. This was a spur of the moment video. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do something. Anyway, I'm trying to make Sunday more of a video day and a Wednesday a video day. I figured I might as well do 3. But for the most part, most historical movies, and when I say that, I know I'm being kind of broad in the subject, but as long as they're over 75% trying to be historically accurate, I don't have a problem. It's when they are blatantly rewriting and revisionist history and screwing around and creating, that's when they get irritated. Or they like to claim it's real history, the Patriots, even Gladiator. And I will come back to this subject on my next video on this subject, because I don't want to go beyond 20 minutes, which I'm about to hit. So I will come back to this subject, people. Next video on the subject, lecture number 3, I think this is. Have a good time. Stay out of trouble, people, because you know I won't. I don't know how. I never learned.